Marvel has given us hundreds of deaths over the years, but only a handful changed everything.
Iron Man.
A son discovered his father murdered his mother. A hero was forced to kill the woman he loved. One death created the Avengers. Another turned Spider-Man into the hero we know today. Today we're revealing who killed who, how these unforgettable deaths happened, and how every single one changed the heroes who survived them. Because by the end of this video, you'll realize these weren't just deaths. They were the moments that defined the Marvel Universe. Killmonger didn't kill Ulysses Klaue out of revenge. He killed him because Klaue's corpse was the key to Wakanda. Returning the kingdom's most wanted criminal earned Killmonger enough trust to challenge T'Challa for the throne. One perfectly planned murder almost gave him an entire nation. But the next death didn't divide heroes. It created them. Loki never intended to escape the helicarrier alone. By killing Agent Coulson, he hoped the Avengers would destroy themselves from within. Instead, Coulson's sacrifice gave Tony Stark and Steve Rogers a reason to finally fight together. Ironically, the man Loki murdered became the reason Loki ultimately lost. Years later, Tony faced a far more personal tragedy. The Winter Soldier hadn't just killed Howard Stark. He murdered Maria Stark as well before Hydra disguised both deaths as a car accident. When Zemo showed Tony the footage years later, grief instantly became rage.
Tony.
Tony no longer wanted answers. He wanted revenge, even if it meant fighting Captain America himself. Ultron's bullets were meant for Hawkeye and a young boy. Quicksilver reached them first, pushing both to safety before taking every shot himself. Hawkeye could only watch as Pietro collapsed in front of him.
You didn't see that coming.
Years later, Clint even named his son Nathaniel Pietro Barton, ensuring the hero who saved his life would never be forgotten. But Hawkeye's hardest goodbye was still waiting. Peter Parker believed Aunt May had survived the Green Goblin's attack. She stood up, spoke to him one last time, then suddenly collapsed. Her final words about great power and great responsibility became the foundation of Spider-Man's future.
And with great power, there must also come great responsibility.
Peter later came within seconds of murdering Norman Osborn himself until another Spider-Man stopped him from making a mistake he could never undo. Queen Ramonda made a different choice. When Namor flooded Wakanda, she saved Riri Williams instead of herself. Shuri arrived too late to rescue her mother, leaving her completely alone after already losing T'Challa. That pain nearly transformed Wakanda's new Black Panther into someone driven by revenge instead of justice. And another son was about to learn an even darker truth about his own family. Peter Quill spent his life believing cancer had taken his mother. Then Ego casually admitted he had placed the tumor in her brain himself.
It broke my heart to put that tumor in her head.
The father Peter had always wanted turned out to be the man who murdered the person he loved most. Peter didn't hesitate. He opened fire immediately, proving some betrayals are too cruel to forgive. Sebastian Shaw murdered Eric Lensher's mother to unlock his mutant abilities. Years later, Magneto returned the favor by slowly pushing the same coin Shaw once used to torture him straight through his skull. Charles Xavier experienced every second through their psychic connection, realizing revenge had permanently changed his closest friend. But the next hero killed out of love, not hatred. Jean Grey begged Wolverine to stop the Phoenix before it destroyed everything. Logan fought through unimaginable pain, reached the woman he loved, and killed her with his own claws.
I love you.
Saving the world meant sacrificing the person he wanted to protect most. Yet another sacrifice soon became even more heartbreaking. On Vormir, Hawkeye and Black Widow weren't fighting to survive. They were fighting over who would die. Natasha refused to let Clint sacrifice himself, broke free from his grasp, and fell to her death so the Avengers could claim the Soul Stone. Clint returned home with the stone, but without his best friend. Even after defeating Thanos, Natasha was the one person the Avengers could never bring back. Thor believed killing Thanos would erase his greatest failure. Instead, it only proved he was too late. After discovering the Infinity Stones had already been destroyed, Thor ended Thanos' life with a single swing of Stormbreaker. There was no celebration, no satisfaction. The man responsible for half the universe's extinction died in seconds, while billions remained gone. Worse yet, Thor had already watched Thanos destroy the family he had left. Heimdall used the last of his strength to send Hulk back to Earth with a warning. Thanos rewarded that final act of heroism by driving a spear straight through his chest. Thor could only watch as one of Asgard's oldest protectors fell, but losing Heimdall was nothing compared to what happened moments later. Loki tried one final trick. Pretending to surrender, he pulled a hidden dagger and lunged at Thanos. It failed instantly. Thanos caught him by the throat and slowly snapped his neck in front of Thor, making sure his brother witnessed every second. For the god of mischief, there was no illusion this time. But even Loki's death wasn't the sacrifice Thanos needed most. Gamora believed she had won. She knew the Soul Stone required sacrificing someone you truly loved, and she was convinced Thanos loved no one. Then she saw him cry. Within seconds, she realized she wasn't standing beside the victor. She was the sacrifice. Thanos threw Gamora from Vormir. Earning the Soul Stone, while Peter Quill's grief later destroyed the Avengers' best chance to stop him on Titan. Vision's death was even crueler because Wanda had to watch it happen twice. First, she destroyed the Mind Stone herself, killing the man she loved to stop Thanos. Then Thanos reversed time, brought Vision back to life, and ripped the stone from his head with his bare hands. Wanda had already made the impossible choice once. Thanos forced her to live through it again. That pain would eventually create someone far more terrifying than any Avenger. When Scarlet Witch faced the Illuminati, they believed they outnumbered her. They were wrong. Black Bolt never fired a single attack after Wanda erased his mouth, causing his own voice to destroy him from within. Reed Richards was pulled apart, strand by strand. Captain Carter died by her own shield. Then Professor X entered Wanda's mind, only to have his neck snapped before he could save her. 4 of Earth's greatest heroes disappeared within minutes. Yet even Wanda never reached the scale of the next killer. Infinity Ultron barely acknowledged Thanos' arrival. Before the Mad Titan could react, Ultron sliced him in half with the Mind Stone and claimed the remaining Infinity Stones for himself. But conquering one enemy wasn't enough. Ultron began wiping out entire planets, galaxies, and eventually whole universes, forcing even the Watcher to abandon his role as a silent observer. Yet despite all that destruction, Marvel's most unforgettable kill still belonged to someone else. Tony Stark finally did what nobody thought was possible. While Thanos believed victory was inevitable, Tony secretly stole every Infinity Stone from the Gauntlet and claimed them for himself. And I am Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
One snap erased Thanos, his entire army, and the greatest threat the universe had ever faced.